Greetings, hello, and welcome to the show. I am the Chance, and you're watching This Old Base, a mediocre series about how not to suck at life. This is a hut. Yes, indeed, it's a hut. In this mini-episode, I will show you how, off-camera before the series started, I got from one of these Tinker's Construct huts to that big box without wasting 45 minutes at a time on building and missing out on the game. Now, a couple of things to note. I forgot to mention in the intro that I added iguana tweaks to the game. I did that also after those first few hours of the playthrough, so all these tools that I've got are still completely unleveled. Ooh. Minecraft doesn't like this. Well, that was different. That's the first time it stuttered on me so far. And I did do plenty of test recording, so hopefully it won't stutter again. At any rate, all of my tools are fresh, unevolved tools on account of having obtained iguana tweaks after starting the map. Also the Ender, you're going to see some pretty decent equipment. I swear it was all in the village. The Ender might have been in the dungeon under the village. I just got really lucky on that. So, how did Chance get from this to a big old house? Well, I'm just going to emulate a normal start here in creative mode. You're going to see 2 or 3 hours of playing over the course of 5 or 10 minutes. Now, the first thing I should do is just get my survival inventory out of the way, so let's do that. Oh, right. Well, I will, be right back. Now that I've got NEI in cheat mode, here's an iron chest. Whoops, I forgot that's how that works. Yeah, go away. There we go. So I'll just throw this guy outside to hold my inventory till we're done. Throw it way out of my way. Alright, nice fresh inventory. So anytime I'm fortunate enough to start my playthrough in a village, and I have done witchery twice before, once by accident and once so I could try immersive engineering in a town. But anytime I'm lucky enough to start in a village, I look for one of these Tinker's Construct huts, which are great because you get some starting parts and all of your tables ready to go. But more importantly, it's really great because you can knock out these 3 wool and throw a bed right there. I actually like to use a carpenter's bed, but it doesn't matter. This may mess things up with regard to respawning, but it'll move fairly early in the playthrough, and you can get around that problem by simply setting your world spawn someplace in the village. Finally, before I really get started, I'll fill this back in and, knock this out. And as early as possible, just run a ladder down there. Obviously you would light this up as well, but I am not going to bother with that, because it's kind of a waste of our time. So once you've got this set up, you can sort of do what you need to do from there forward. I decided to do Tinker's Construct for a while, get myself up to a smeltery, because remember, I have progressive automation and ex nihilo, so I wanted to be able to get that going quickly. But normally I would use something else for early game ore doubling, because I like not to have to mess around with the smeltery to double my ore. So what I would do is I would come down here, I would take this just a couple levels deeper. In fact, I'd take it a specific number of levels deeper most of the time, but we'll cover that later. And then I would simply start mining. Whoops. Oh, go down the ladder. Creative mode, I forget how to do that. And start mining right here. And just take it back, as far as I feel like I need to. You can do strip mining, you can do quarrying, you can do whatever you like. Maybe you'll run into a cave. That'd be great. So, you get down there, you get your early materials, and I'd come back in here, and now, I always, and we'll cover this more later, I always say the first few hours don't worry about the base as much. Just throw things where they fit. You will fix it soon once you have just a little more in the way of materials. The first thing I'd usually build is something to double my ore. Let's go with the classic pulverizer and redstone furnace combo. I do sincerely apologize for this, oh, rather wrong, look at that. Whatever. For the texture pack, if it's throwing you off, please let me know if it's really throwing you off. Someone on Reddit mentioned that it might. I feel like it probably won't, but I would like to know. So you get your early game ore doubling and you set it up, and there'd be a chest right there to catch everything on the way out, and of course your power would be somewhere. I am frequently guilty of knocking out this block or wherever my machines are and putting power outside. I might, after this, beeline for things like an aqueous accumulator and some kind of lava production, but this time I didn't. This time I made a beeline for cobble production. I used my skyblock mods to get myself enough redstone to make... sorry. enough redstone to make myself the transfer node from Extra Utilities, and you guys are probably familiar with that cobble generator. And then I just took that cobblestone, and there was a house like this on the opposite corner. This is in an intersection over yonder. So there's a street running this way, and there's this street running this way. And there was the L-shaped house right here. So now we can go over here and I can show you. The L-shaped house right there, and on the opposite corner, we had one of these, and on the opposite corner we had... oh, where's an example? They're all over the place. One of the houses with the little porch backyard. I'm sure everyone... oh, this one. I'm sure everyone's seen it. So I combined the Tinker's Hut with both of those, and that's what I did. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't even knock out a wall to join these two up. I just came with carpenter's blocks and cobble. I knocked out this wall of the Tinker's Hut and the corresponding wall of the other house. I took its floor down to meet up with the street level instead of having stairs, and then I ran a wall across the street to join them up and kept playing. And once I progressed a little farther, I had gotten my oh, I don't need to show you. I'd gotten just my early game Ex Nihilo lava production set up to use the cobble from here. Once I'd done that, and a painful amount of sifting, and built my smeltery in... oh, I guess I'd already done that. I ran the second story up, and the second story is a trick. The second story is a cable shaft. Or not so much a shaft, but a cable access area, right, a crawl space. I make 3-block high crawl spaces. Some people like them to be 5 blocks high, but I feel like you end up with very tall towers when you do that. I make them 3 blocks high so I can comfortably walk in here and put a cable above me, and other than that I'd run them alongside the wall. I'd also normally make the ceiling of the floor below 2 blocks thick, so that I could set cables into the floor in here if need be. But I didn't bother doing that here because it's my first structure and there's not going to be a whole lot going on in this crawl space, since I know for a fact the next story will be my warehouse. Once I'd built this, I didn't build the roof right away. I just put the walls in so I'd have a sense of my footprint, and considered what to do about this roof here. I haven't actually decided yet, and played for a little while longer. And once I'd played for a little while longer, I came back up here, and this is the last big thing I'll build the hard way. I put this floor in for the next story. Again, didn't bother making it 2 blocks thick. Should have. I joined up with this tower, which just happened to be right next door, and it gives me a convenient well, no, a completely inconvenient way of getting up and down from this street. And then I started moving some of my stuff up here. Ultimately, this will be a storage drawers and Java-based warehouse using either extra utilities or Ender.io pipes to get between downstairs the storage drawers and then finally the Java barrels and maybe chests that end the system. That may be the first thing we build. It will be much nicer in here than it is now, but, and I can't stress this enough, it will not be as nice as it will be much later in the playthrough. If you are trying to make a big pretty base while you're playing, you're going to spend hours, you're going to get burnt. So, we make a crappy base out of a few different kinds of cobblestone chiseled, and we run with it for a while. And as we expand it, we come back along with the chisel, or the wand of equal exchange, resonant exchanger, whatever you want to do, and swap out those crappy blocks for the blocks you'd really like to have. You add your windows, and things like that. Important to note, I almost always, if I remember, I try really hard to remember, I'll make my walls, even though this is all cobblestone, my walls are one kind of cobblestone, detailed cobblestone bricks from chisel. My floor are the French cobblestone tiles from chisel. And my foundation is regular old cobblestone, as is, I guess, my first floor. I do this because when you're coming along later with equal exchange, it makes life a lot easier if the sections you want to replace are all one distinct block, and the stuff they're touching is a different block, so you don't swap anything out by accident. And the last rule of thumb that I always employ as I'm building these structures, which you can see I've started here, walls should be, and they aren't yet, 2 blocks thick with a 3 wide crawl space in between. Again, that's your cable access area. It's 3 wide, so you'd have a 2 block thick wall, and then a space for cables, and then a space for walking, and then a space for more cables, and then another 2 block thick wall, and your next room or chamber can begin here. I don't always use that exact math, but I always use at least those dimensions so that I don't wind up regretting anything later. But after the first tower, I almost always use some sort of automatic builder or the builder's wand and save myself the hassle of putting all this stuff down by hand. So that, in a nutshell, is how I got from the Tinker's Construct hut to this big monstrous thing without stopping and spending 45 minutes on it at a time. And with that said, I guess we're probably about ready to begin the series proper. In episode 1, we will talk about this warehouse, and we will look at some food production so that I can stop running around and harvesting and replanting this. See ya then!